Hey everyone, and welcome back. Today we are taking a deep dive into something a lot of you have been asking about.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's this relationship literacy manual for U.S. seniors.
Interesting.
It's interesting, right? Like, as we all get older, relationships, well, they just kind of get a little bit more complicated.
They do.
And so this manual is almost like a cheat sheet, I guess, or like a guide to help navigate some of those changes that tend to pop up.
You know, I like that.
Yeah.
That's a great way to put it. It's like, we spend all this time when we're younger learning how to read and write.
Right.
But no one ever sits us down and teaches us about relationship literacy.
Right. And it could be just as important.
Especially as we get older.
Yeah, especially for seniors.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So the manual actually defines relationship literacy as understanding how to build and maintain healthy connections.
At any age.
At any age.
Right.
But especially as our roles and dynamics change later in life. Like, how do we manage that? And this manual doesn't just like give you these vague platitudes, like be more understanding or communicate better.
Right.
It gets into the nitty gritty.
Yeah.
Like really specific things like learn to set boundaries, or like how do you even begin to navigate those tricky conversations about, say, inheritance or healthcare decisions. All those things that nobody wants to talk about, but they're important.
Right. They are important, and often the people that are the hardest to deal with are the people that are closest to us.
Oh, that's so true.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
It really is.
And you know what's interesting to me is the manual points out how crucial strong relationships are for seniors' well-being.
Yes.
It's not just about, not having drama or, feeling good. It's like there are studies that actually show it impacts mental and physical health.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
It's not just about like avoiding drama or whatever. It's about
taking care of yourself.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, and this manual is really focused specifically on the baby boomer generation.
Okay.
Which is you.
Okay, so why are baby boomers so special when it comes to relationships?
Well, they really are a unique generation,
Okay.
Think about all of the massive cultural shifts they've lived through.
Like what?
Oh my gosh, the civil rights movement.
Oh, yeah.
The women's liberation movement.
Right.
The rise of technology. I mean, all of that has profoundly impacted how they view family, work, and community.
So they're not just dealing with like getting older, they're also dealing with like the aftershocks of all these huge changes.
Yes.
That makes sense.
That's exactly right.
Wow.
And the manual dives into several key areas that affect baby boomers' relationships.
Like what?
Well, one of the biggest is family dynamics.
Oh, family dynamics.
Yeah.
Family can be complicated enough as it is.
Yeah.
I'm guessing the manual talks about those tricky conversations, like when you need more help or adjusting to new roles, like being a grandparent.
You got it. Those shifting dynamics, and provide strategies for how to navigate those transitions.
That reminds me of something I read in the manual about how our roles within the family can blur as we get older.
Oh, yeah.
They had this great example of an older woman who was struggling to balance her desire for independence with her children's concerns for her safety.
That's a classic dilemma.
It is.
The kids are worried.
Right.
But the parent wants to still feel capable.
Yeah, they want to feel in control.
And in control.
Right.
And what the manual suggests is to focus on open communication and finding solutions that respect everyone's needs and boundaries.
So it's not just about the senior in the equation, it's about the whole family unit.
That's right.
Adjusting.
Yeah, it's a whole dynamic, absolutely.
And speaking of adjustments, the manual also delves into the importance of maintaining social connections as we age. That's something I've definitely noticed in my own life. It's harder to make new friends as you get older, and sometimes you just drift apart from old ones.
That's very natural.
Yeah.
But what this manual wants to emphasize is that social engagement is crucial for seniors' well-being.
It's not just about having fun or whatever.
No.
It's about combating loneliness and isolation,
which can have serious health consequences.
Right. So how does the manual suggest we tackle this challenge?
Well, it really encourages seniors to actively seek out social opportunities.
Okay.
And this can be anything from joining a club to volunteering to taking a class or even reconnecting with old friends.
Okay.
The key is to step outside of your comfort zone and make an effort to connect with others.
What about those who might be a little shy or unsure about putting themselves out there? Does the manual offer any advice for them?
Absolutely. It recognizes that can be daunting, especially if you've been out of the loop for a while, and it suggests starting small. Like maybe attend a local event or just strike up conversations with people you encounter in your daily life.
Yeah.
You know, and it even gives tips on navigating online social platforms,
Right.
which can be a great way to connect with others.
Right. Technology is such a huge part of our lives these days, and it can be so useful for staying connected, especially as we age.
That's right.
The manual talks about that, right?
Absolutely. In fact, there's a whole chapter dedicated to technology and digital literacy.
Wow.
And it recognizes that technology can be both a blessing and a curse.
I can see that. I mean, on one hand, it can help you stay in touch with family and friends that live far away.
Right.
But on the other hand, it can be really overwhelming and sometimes even dangerous if you're not careful.
Very true.
Yeah.
It can be very dangerous.
So what does it say?
Well, it encourages seniors to embrace technology, but to approach it with caution.
Okay.
And gives practical advice on everything from setting up a smartphone to navigating social media safely to recognizing online scams.
You know, speaking of scams, the manual mentioned something that really surprised me, and that is that financial stress can actually really damage relationships.
It's powerful, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because often, you know, financial worries can lead to tension and arguments.
Yeah.
And even social isolation.
So it's not just about like managing money, it's about
protecting relationships.
protecting relationships, right?
Exactly.
Wow.
And the manual dives into practical strategies for financial literacy in later life.
Oh, wow.
Covering things like budgeting, debt management, and maximizing your Social Security benefits.
You know, we're talking a lot about navigating challenges and adjustments,
Yeah.
but the manual also highlights the importance of communication, right?
Absolutely.
For any healthy relationship.
The foundation.
Yeah.
It's the foundation.
Especially as we age.
It becomes even more crucial.
I bet there's a whole section on how to talk to family about difficult topics,
You bet.
like end-of-life care and financial decisions.
You're right on the money. The manual emphasizes the importance of having these conversations early and often,
Yeah.
while also providing practical tips on how to approach them with sensitivity and respect.
That makes sense.
And even acknowledges that sometimes it's helpful to involve a neutral third party, like a therapist or a counselor.
Right, a mediator.
A mediator.
Yeah.
To help facilitate those conversations.
That's a great point. It's so easy to just avoid those tough conversations, but they're often the ones that matter the most.
They are.
Now, before we move on, there's another area I wanted to touch on: loss and grief.
Yeah.
It's a difficult topic, but it is an inevitable part of life,
It is.
especially as we get older.
And this manual doesn't shy away from it.
No, it doesn't.
In fact, it dedicates a whole section to understanding and coping with loss and grief in later life.
So it's not just about offering condolences. It gets into the nitty-gritty of how to deal with those emotions.
It does.
Okay.
It acknowledges that grieving can be a long and complex process.
Yeah.
And provides practical strategies for coping with loss, finding support, and honoring the memory of loved ones.
Wow.
Even talks about the importance of self-care during times of grief.
Which is so easy to forget about when you're in that.
Yeah, you're not thinking about yourself,
Yeah.
you're thinking about the person that you've lost, and
Yeah.
taking care of others.
Right, and all the arrangements that have to be made and all that.
Exactly.
This might seem like a bit of a jump, but the manual also talks about legacy and contribution.
Yes.
It encourages seniors to think about the impact they want to make on the world, even in their later years.
Yes.
So it's not just about receiving care, it's about
Giving back.
giving back.
Absolutely.
I love that.
Yeah, and the manual highlights a variety of ways that seniors can contribute, from volunteering and mentorship to just simply sharing their stories and wisdom with younger generations. And it really emphasizes that even small acts of kindness can have a ripple effect.
And those small acts of kindness often come back to relationships.
They do, don't they? And the manual stresses how interconnected a senior's life is.
Right.
You can't separate your health and your finances and your housing and even legal matters from the impact they have on your relationships.
Yeah, you can't just compartmentalize.
No, you can't.
It's all
It's all
one big ball of wax.
It is.
It is.
And speaking of the big picture, the manual goes beyond just relationships.
Okay.
It recognizes that there are these practical considerations that can have a huge impact on a senior's well-being,
Right.
which in turn affects their relationships.
I'm intrigued. What are some of those practical considerations?
Well, one of the biggest is health and medical care.
Okay.
You know, as we get older, we're more likely to face chronic conditions and have to navigate a complex healthcare system.
It's true.
And that can put a strain on even the strongest relationships.
So it's not just about going to the doctor. It's about how those health challenges impact your interactions with your family and your friends.
Exactly.
Okay.
And the manual provides a lot of very detailed advice on managing those chronic conditions, accessing preventative care, navigating health insurance, and even understanding the rise of telemedicine.
That telemedicine has been a game changer for a lot of seniors,
Huge.
especially the ones that have trouble getting to appointments.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And let's not forget about financial literacy.
Okay.
You know, the manual goes deep on budgeting, debt management, maximizing Social Security benefits, and even investment strategies.
Wow, that's a lot to cover.
It is, but it's essential.
Yeah.
Because financial stress can affect everything from your mental health to your ability to participate in social activities.
Which then impacts your relationships.
Exactly.
I hadn't really thought about it that way, but it makes perfect sense.
It's true.
If you're worried about money all the time, that's just going to weigh you down.
It does.
And it's going to make it harder to be present and,
Be present.
be there for the people you love.
Absolutely.
So it's all connected.
It really is.
Yeah.
And something else that really struck me was the attention they gave to food security and transportation.
Okay.
You know, those are pretty basic needs,
They are.
but they can become really challenging as we age.
Yeah, especially for seniors who live on fixed incomes.
Right.
With rising costs, it can be tough to afford healthy food and reliable transportation.
And the manual doesn't just point out the problem.
No.
It offers solutions.
Okay, good.
Yeah. They recommend looking into programs like SNP for food assistance, exploring options like public transportation, ride-sharing services, and senior transportation programs.
It also encourages seniors to reach out to their communities and support networks
Yes.
for help.
Yes, you don't have to go it alone.
You don't have to go it alone.
There are resources available.
There are resources available and people who care.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And let's not forget about housing and legal issues.
Oh, yes, very important.
These are often overlooked, but can have a huge impact on a senior's life, and in turn, their relationships.
Yeah, like deciding whether to stay in your home or move to an assisted living facility.
Right, that's a big one.
Huge decision.
Yeah, and it can be emotionally charged for everyone involved.
Absolutely.
And the manual delves into these topics with sensitivity and practicality.
Yes.
Covering everything from understanding elder law and navigating housing options to planning for long-term care and making sure your legal documents are in order.
Very important.
Okay, so we've talked about all the big picture stuff.
Yes.
But I'm curious, how does the manual actually encourage people to put all these ideas into practice?
Good question.
Like, it's one thing to read about communication skills, but it's another thing to actually use them.
You're right. Well, the manual recognizes that
Okay.
and emphasizes the importance of taking action.
Okay.
So throughout the manual, you'll find these insightful action steps and reflection questions.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Like a workbook.
Like a workbook,
Yeah.
yeah. And they prompt you to apply the concepts to your own life.
I love that.
And there are tons of additional resources.
Really?
Oh, yeah, like websites and organizations and even hotlines that seniors can contact for support.
They thought of everything.
It seems like it. It's
Well.
really quite comprehensive.
Now, one thing that keeps coming up in our conversation is this idea of community support and intergenerational connections.
Yes.
And it's clear that the manual sees this as a key part of healthy aging.
It is. It really highlights the importance of seniors staying connected to their communities and engaging in activities that bring different generations together.
Right, creating that sense of belonging,
And purpose.
which is so important as we get older.
It is.
Yeah.
And there's a very heartwarming story about a senior center that partnered with a local elementary school to create a mentoring program.
That's great.
Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah.
The seniors helped the kids with their reading skills, and the kids, in turn, taught the seniors how to use computers.
Oh, wow.
Everyone benefited.
Everybody wins.
Everybody wins.
I love that.
It was a beautiful example of how intergenerational connections can really enrich lives.
On both sides.
On both sides, yeah.
That's great.
And speaking of enriching lives, let's talk about the manual's focus on legacy and contributions.
Okay.
Because they really want to encourage seniors to think about the impact they want to make on the world,
Even in their later years.
even in their later years.
It's about recognizing that aging doesn't mean you stop contributing.
Exactly.
Right.
Absolutely.
It's about finding new ways to share your talents, your passions, and your experiences with the world.
That's right. And they have this very powerful quote in the manual.
What is it?
Your legacy is not just what you leave behind, but what you build while you're here.
I love that.
Oh, you?
It's a great quote.
It is.
It's a good reminder that we all have the power to create something meaningful
Yes.
no matter our age.
No matter what our age.
And our relationships play a huge role in shaping that legacy.
Absolutely.
Now, before we wrap up this section on relationships, there's one more topic I want to touch on.
Okay.
And it's a tough one.
I bet it is.
It's elder abuse.
Oh, yeah, that's a tough one. It's heartbreaking to think that this happens to so many seniors.
It is.
But the manual doesn't shy away from it.
No, thank God.
They dedicate an entire section to understanding and addressing elder abuse
Yes.
and recognizing that it can take many forms: physical, emotional, financial, and even neglect.
You know, and it's so important to talk about this
It is.
because knowledge is power.
Knowledge is power.
The more we talk about it, the more we can prevent it.
Absolutely.
And the manual provides crucial information on recognizing the signs of abuse, reporting it, and seeking help,
Okay.
and emphasizes the importance of prevention and creating a supportive environment for seniors.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. Family dynamics, lost social connections, communication, technology,
Loss and grief.
loss and grief. Like
That's the elder abuse.
elder abuse.
Wow.
And it's incredible how much this manual covered. And we haven't even touched on all of it.
I know. It's like an encyclopedia of relationship wisdom for seniors.
It is.
But it's not dry like an encyclopedia.
Yeah.
It's actually engaging
It's very engaging.
and easy to digest.
Easy to read.
I think that's what makes it so effective.
Yeah.
It speaks directly to the reader and uses real-life examples and anecdotes.
Right.
So it makes the information feel relevant and actionable.
And that's ultimately what this deep dive is all about, helping you understand the key takeaways from this manual and how you can apply it to your own life.
Now, before we jump into the final section of our deep dive,
Okay?
I want to take a moment to talk about the importance of food security for seniors.
Yes.
This is something that is often overlooked, but it is absolutely critical for overall well-being.
Absolutely.
And it can even impact relationships.
It can.
Yeah. So what does food security mean?
Well, food security basically means having consistent access to enough affordable, nutritious food.
So it's a basic need, but for many seniors, it's a real struggle.
It is.
The manual highlights some of the reasons why seniors might experience food insecurity.
Yes.
What are some of the key factors?
Well, financial constraints are a major factor. Many seniors live on fixed incomes.
Right.
And as the cost of food continues to rise,
That's hard.
it's hard to make ends meet.
Yeah.
And the manual also points out that physical limitations can be a barrier.
Right.
You know, if you have trouble getting around, it can be very difficult to shop for groceries.
Yeah.
Or prepare meals, or even get to a food pantry.
And let's not forget about social isolation.
Yes.
If you live alone or don't have a strong support network, it can be hard to maintain a healthy diet,
You might skip meals or rely on convenience foods.
which are not always the most nutritious.
Right.
So the manual talks about how food insecurity can impact seniors' health.
It does.
If you're not getting the nutrients you need, it can weaken your immune system.
Right.
It can increase your risk of chronic diseases and even affect your mental health. And all of that can have a ripple effect on your relationships.
Absolutely.
If you're not feeling your best, it's going to be harder to engage with the people you love,
That's right.
participate in activities, and just enjoy life
That's right.
to the fullest.
To the fullest.
So what can seniors do if they're struggling with food security?
Well, the manual suggests a couple of resources.
Okay.
They recommend looking into programs like SNMP, which provides financial assistance for groceries,
Okay.
and Meals on Wheels, which delivers nutritious meals to homebound seniors.
And they also suggest checking with local senior centers or community organizations to see what resources are available
Exactly.
in their area.
Because every community is different.
That's true.
And you know what? If you have a loved one who's a senior,
Yeah.
the manual really encourages you to reach out and offer support. Sometimes something as simple as bringing over a home-cooked meal or offering to go grocery shopping can make a world of difference.
Absolutely.
It's about recognizing that food security is not just an individual issue. Yeah,
It's a community issue.
it is a community issue.
Absolutely.
And we all have a role to play in making sure that seniors have access to the nutritious food they need
Absolutely.
to thrive.
To thrive.
Now, along with food security, the manual also emphasizes the importance of safe and reliable transportation for seniors.
Yes, because for many seniors, driving is no longer an option,
Right.
whether it's due to age-related changes, health conditions, or financial limitations.
And losing the ability to drive can be a major blow to a senior's independence.
It can.
Yeah.
It can lead to social isolation, difficulty accessing healthcare, and even feelings of depression.
But the manual also highlights the importance of exploring alternative transportation options.
Yes.
So what do they suggest?
Well, they talk about public transportation, ride-sharing services, senior transportation programs, and even just asking family or friends for help.
Okay.
And they emphasize the importance of planning ahead and having a backup plan in case your usual mode of transportation falls through.
And if you're a caregiver for a senior, they encourage you to be proactive and help your loved one find transportation solutions that work for them.
And the manual even goes into some detail about the legal considerations of senior transportation.
They do.
For example, they discuss the laws regarding senior drivers and how to assess whether it's still safe for a senior to be behind the wheel.
It's a sensitive topic,
It is.
but it's an important one.
It's an important one to address.
Absolutely.
Because no one wants to put themselves or others at risk.
Nobody wants to.
Yeah. And the manual provides some helpful guidance on navigating that conversation
That's right.
with the loved one.
Sensitive conversations,
Yeah.
but very important.
Now, speaking of legal considerations, the manual dedicates a whole chapter to understanding elder law and legal rights,
Yes.
which can be a real minefield.
Oh, you're telling me for seniors?
There's so much to navigate.
Right.
Estate planning, healthcare directives, powers of attorney, guardianship.
Oh my gosh.
It's overwhelming.
Yeah, it can be. But the manual breaks it down into manageable chunks. It
Okay.
explains the key concepts in plain language
Good.
and offers practical advice on how to protect your rights and make informed decisions.
One of the things they emphasize is the importance of having a will.
Yes, because without a will, your assets may not be distributed according to your wishes.
And it can create a lot of stress and conflict
It can.
for your loved ones.
It can.
The manual also talks about the importance of having a durable power of attorney for healthcare.
Yes, this document allows you to designate someone you trust to make medical decisions on your behalf if you become unable to do so.
It can be a difficult topic to think about,
It can.
but it's essential to have these documents in place in case of an emergency.
Absolutely.
The manual provides guidance on how to create these documents
Yeah.
and ensure they're legally valid.
Absolutely.
They also talk about the importance of understanding your rights as a senior,
Yes.
especially when it comes to healthcare, housing, and financial matters.
That's right.
They even provide information on accessing legal aid and pro bono services.
Yes, which can be a lifeline for seniors who can't afford to hire an attorney.
Now, one thing that really resonated with me was the manual's emphasis on senior advocacy.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
They encourage seniors to get involved in their communities, to speak up about issues that matter to them,
Absolutely.
and to advocate for policies that support the well-being of older adults.
They do, and they have this great line,
What is it?
"Your voice matters, don't be afraid to use it."
That's a good one.
Isn't it?
I like that.
It's a powerful reminder that seniors have a lot to contribute to society and that their experiences and perspectives are valuable. And the manual even provides some specific tips on how seniors can get involved in advocacy efforts.
Like what?
Well, they talk about contacting elected officials, attending community meetings, joining advocacy organizations, and even just talking to friends and family about issues that are important to them. It's about recognizing that seniors have a collective power to create positive change.
Yeah.
And that their voices can make a real difference in shaping a society that values and supports its aging population.
Now let's shift gears a bit and talk about the manual's coverage of housing options for seniors.
Okay.
This is something that a lot of people start thinking about as they get older.
A lot of people.
Yeah.
And they do a great job of laying out the different options available.
Okay.
From aging in place to assisted living to nursing homes.
They talk about the pros and cons of each option,
Right.
as well as the financial considerations.
Absolutely.
And they emphasize the importance of planning ahead and having those conversations
With loved ones.
with loved ones about your preferences and your needs.
That's right.
One thing that stood out to me was their section on home modifications.
Oh, yes.
It's amazing how simple changes to your home
It is.
can make a big difference in your ability to age in place safely and comfortably,
Absolutely.
like installing grab bars in the bathroom,
Right.
adding ramps to entryways,
Yes.
adjusting the lighting and countertops to make them more accessible,
All those things make a big difference.
and they even provide resources for finding contractors who specialize in these types of modifications.
You do.
And one of the things that's been coming up throughout our conversation is the importance of having open and honest conversations
It is key.
with your loved ones.
Absolutely.
And the manual provides a lot of guidance on how to approach these conversations.
Especially when it comes to sensitive topics like caregiving or end-of-life planning. And it acknowledges that these conversations can be difficult.
They can be really hard.
They can, but it emphasizes that they are essential for ensuring that a senior's wishes are respected and their needs are met. Suggests starting these conversations early, framing them as a collaboration, focusing on shared goals, and even involving a neutral third party like a therapist or a counselor if needed. Because sometimes it's easier to talk about those difficult things when there's someone there to facilitate the conversation.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And speaking of difficult conversations, the manual also delves into the topic of elder abuse.
Oh, yeah.
Which is something that is unfortunately all too common.
It is.
It's heartbreaking to think about, but the manual doesn't gloss over the issue.
No.
Provides concrete information on how to recognize the signs of abuse, how to report it, and how to seek help.
Okay.
And emphasizes the importance of prevention, creating a supportive environment for seniors.
So that brings us back to the manual's emphasis on community support and intergenerational connections.
Right back to it. It's a recurring theme.
It is.
It's all connected.
Absolutely. It's clear that these connections play a vital role in preventing isolation and protecting seniors from harm.
Absolutely.
So the manual highlights the importance of seniors staying engaged in their communities, participating in activities, building those relationships with people of all ages.
And it doesn't just talk about the benefits for the seniors. It emphasizes the value of these intergenerational connections for everyone.
For everyone involved.
For everyone involved.
Like that mentoring program we were talking about earlier, where the seniors were helping kids learn to read and the kids were helping the seniors learn technology.
That's right. A perfect example of that.
Everybody wins.
Everybody wins.
And let's not forget about the importance of legacy and contribution.
Yes.
The manual encourages seniors to think about the impact they want to make on the world, even in their later years.
It's about recognizing that aging doesn't mean the end of growth or purpose.
Right. It's a new chapter.
It is.
With its own opportunities and possibilities.
Absolutely.
So it's not just about coping with getting older, it's about thriving.
Oh, exactly. And the manual provides a roadmap for doing just that.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about the how-to aspects of the manual.
Right.
But what about the emotional side of things?
Oh, that's important.
Yeah, how does it address, like, the fears and the anxieties that a lot of seniors might experience as they go through these changes?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And the manual acknowledges that aging can be an emotional roller coaster.
Right.
It's normal to feel a mix of excitement and apprehension and maybe even sadness as you enter this new phase of life.
I imagine for some seniors, there's a sense of loss or grief.
There is.
For the life they once had.
Absolutely. And the manual encourages seniors to acknowledge these feelings and to seek support if they're struggling.
Yeah.
Also emphasizes the importance of finding new sources of joy and purpose.
So it's about embracing those changes while also honoring the past.
It is. It's about finding that balance between accepting what is and creating a future that feels fulfilling and meaningful.
And one of the things I found really helpful was its emphasis on self-care.
Oh, that's so important.
It is.
Especially as we get older.
It reminds seniors that taking care of themselves physically, emotionally, and mentally is crucial for maintaining those healthy relationships.
It is, and encourages them to prioritize activities that bring them joy.
Like what?
Spending time in nature, pursuing a hobby, or just simply relaxing and recharging.
And it's a good reminder that self-care is not selfish.
It's not.
It's essential.
It's essential.
For our well-being.
For our well-being.
And for our ability to, connect with others.
In a positive way.
In a positive way.
Yeah.
Now, we've talked a lot about the individual experience of aging.
Yes.
But the manual also highlights the importance of seniors advocating for themselves.
Yes.
And for their communities.
It does.
It encourages seniors to use their voices to speak up about issues that matter to them.
Yes.
And to advocate for policies that support the well-being of older adults.
And it reminds us that they have a wealth of experience and knowledge to share, and that their perspectives are really valuable in shaping a society that is inclusive and supportive of all ages.
The manual even provides tips on how seniors can get involved in these advocacy efforts. So, what kind of things are we talking about?
Contacting elected officials, attending community meetings, joining advocacy organizations, and even just having conversations with friends and family about issues that are important to them.
Right.
It's about recognizing that seniors have a collective power
To make change.
to create positive change,
Yeah.
and that their voices can make a real difference in shaping a world that values and supports its aging population.
You know, as we've been discussing this manual, I've been struck by how comprehensive and insightful it is.
Me too.
It really does cover every aspect of aging in relationships.
They have a remarkable resource.
But I think what makes it so effective is that it's not just about providing information. It's about empowering seniors to take charge of their own lives.
Right.
Create a future that feels meaningful and fulfilling.
I agree with you.
And it's not just for seniors.
No.
It's for anybody who wants to understand the aging process and how to support their loved ones as they navigate this new chapter.
You're absolutely right. It's a valuable resource for families, caregivers, and anyone who wants to learn more about healthy aging and the importance of strong relationships.
It really feels like this manual is about so much more than just relationships.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's like a guide to living a meaningful and fulfilling life no matter your age.
You know, one thing that's been resonating with me is this idea of redefining aging,
Yes.
challenging those outdated stereotypes, and encouraging seniors to embrace this chapter with a sense of adventure and possibility.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing that you don't have to conform to societal expectations. You can create your own definition of what it means to be a senior.
And that definition might look different for everyone.
It will,
Right.
absolutely. Some seniors want to travel the world, others want to spend more time with their families, others might want to dedicate themselves to a cause they're passionate about.
Right.
There's no right or wrong answer.
The key is to find what brings you joy
That's right.
and purpose.
That's the key.
Yeah, and the manual seems to really encourage seniors to step outside of their comfort zones and try new things.
It does.
Like what?
Well, taking classes and joining clubs to volunteering and traveling.
Yeah, I think it's so important, the manual's emphasis on the value of seniors' experiences and wisdom.
Oh, it's so valuable.
They encourage them to share their stories and insights with younger generations.
Yes. It's about recognizing that they have a wealth of knowledge and perspective that can benefit others. And it's not just about formal mentorship programs or volunteering opportunities. It can be as simple as sharing stories with your grandchildren,
Right.
offering advice to a young colleague,
Just passing it on.
passing it on.
Yeah,
Exactly.
fostering those intergenerational connections
That's right.
that we keep talking about.
And those connections can be incredibly enriching for everyone involved.
They can.
Young people can learn from the experiences of their elders.
Right.
Seniors can gain new perspectives
And a sense of purpose.
and a sense of purpose from interacting with those younger generations.
And let's not forget about the power of legacy.
Yeah.
The manual encourages seniors to think about the impact they want to make
Yes.
on the world.
How they want to be remembered.
How do you want to be remembered?
It's about leaving a positive mark.
Yeah.
Whether it's through your relationships, your work, your passions, or just simply your acts of kindness.
Your actions.
Your actions
It's about recognizing that even small actions,
can have a ripple effect
they can have a ripple effect.
and make a difference in the lives of others.
Now, we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive.
Oh, yeah.
From the importance of relationship literacy
Right?
to the practical considerations of aging to the power of legacy and contribution.
It's been fascinating.
It has been a fascinating journey.
It really has.
And I feel like I've learned so much.
Me too, and I hope our listeners have as well.
I hope so too.
Before we wrap up, I want to leave our listeners with a thought-provoking question.
Okay.
Inspired by the manual.
Okay.
Okay. The manual talks a lot about legacy and contribution.
Yeah.
So I'd like to ask our listeners this. What legacy do you hope to leave behind for your family and your community?
That's a great question.
I think it is.
I think it is something worth pondering.
Absolutely.
Now, for a more memorable takeaway from our deep dive,
Okay.
I found this statistic from the manual particularly striking.
I love statistics.
Did you know that a growing number of senior centers are offering these intergenerational programs?
That's wonderful.
It's amazing to see seniors sharing their skills and experience with younger generations and vice versa.
It's a beautiful reminder that we all have something to offer no matter our age.
Well, on that note, it's time to bring this deep dive to a close. Thanks for joining us.
It's been a pleasure.
Remember, strong relationships are the foundation for a happy and fulfilling life, and it's never too late to invest in those connections.
It's true. It really does feel like a guide to living a more meaningful and fulfilling life no matter how old you are.
You know, one thing that really keeps coming back to me is this idea of redefining aging, you know,
Yeah.
like challenging those stereotypes about what it means to be a senior
Yeah.
and really embracing this chapter of life with, you know, a sense of possibility and adventure.
Absolutely. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't have to conform to what society says you should be doing or what you should be. Like, you can, create your own definition of what it means to be a senior.
And that might look different for everyone.
It will.
Right. Some seniors want to travel the world, and some seniors want to spend time with their families. Some want to volunteer or dedicate themselves to a cause.
Right.
There's no right or wrong answer.
The key is to find what brings you joy and purpose.
And this manual seems to really encourage seniors to step outside their comfort zones and try new things.
It does.
It's almost like, well, you're not bound by work anymore or, kids.
Right.
It's a time to rediscover yourself and explore new possibilities.
And they give a lot of advice on how to do that.
Right.
Everything from taking classes to joining clubs to volunteering to travel.
Another thing that I think is really important is the manual's emphasis on the value of seniors' experiences and wisdom.
Absolutely.
Like, they really encourage seniors to share their stories and their insights with those younger generations.
I agree. It's about recognizing that they have this wealth of knowledge and perspective that can benefit others. And it's not about formal mentorship programs or volunteering. It's just sharing stories with your grandkids or offering advice to a younger colleague at work.
It's about fostering those intergenerational connections.
Exact.
What would you keep talking about?
And those connections can be so enriching
I
for
agree.
everyone involved.
Yeah.
Young people can learn so much from the experience of their elders, and seniors can gain new perspectives and a sense of purpose from interacting with younger generations.
And let's not forget about legacy.
Yeah.
The manual encourages seniors to think about the impact they want to make on the world and how they want to be remembered.
How do you want to be remembered? It's about leaving a positive mark on the world, whether it's through your relationships, your work, your passions, or simply your acts of kindness.
It's about recognizing that even the smallest actions can make a difference.
They can have a ripple effect.
So we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive.
We have.
I feel like I've learned so much.
Me too.
What about you guys? Did you learn anything?
And I hope our listeners have as well.
I hope so too.
Before we wrap up, I want to leave our listeners with a thought-provoking question.
Okay, to me.
Inspired by the manual.
Okay.
The manual talks a lot about legacy and contribution.
Yeah.
So I want to ask our listeners this. What legacy do you hope to leave behind for your family and for your community?
It's a great question. And I think it's something worth pondering. What about you? What legacy do you want to leave behind?
That is a good question. I'm going to have to think about that.
Okay, well, I'll let you think on that. Now, for a more memorable takeaway from our deep dive today, I found this statistic from the manual particularly striking. Did you know that a growing number of senior centers are offering those intergenerational programs?
That's wonderful.
It's really amazing to see seniors sharing their skills and experiences with younger generations and vice versa.
Yeah, it's a beautiful reminder that we all have something to offer, no matter our age.
Well, on that note, it's time to wrap up this deep dive. Thanks for joining us, everyone.
It's been a pleasure as always.
Remember, strong relationships are the foundation for a happy and fulfilling life. And it's never too late to start investing in those connections.